Turnabout Storm is a fan-made crossover between My Little Pony and Phoenix Wright. And just to let you know where I'm coming from, I'm obviously a big fan of My Little Pony, but I've only played the first game in the Phoenix Wright series. I loved it, thought it was a great game, but I just kind of felt done after the first one. I didn't have any desire to pick up the sequels. As such, there are a few references here that I'm assuming come from the later games, so Phoenix Wright fans, please don't get too upset if something goes over my head. Though from what I've seen so far, it seems to take place mostly in the My Little Pony universe anyway, with Phoenix Wright guest starring, so that actually kind of works out. And I do like how Rainbow Dash calls him Nyx. Also, just to let you know how this is going to work, there are 6 videos in the Turnabout Storm series. I'm going to give my reaction to each one as I watch them. So as of right now, I haven't seen part 2 yet. Likewise, I will give my reaction to part 2 before I watch part 3 and so on. Also, potential spoiler warning for those who haven't seen Turnabout Storm, since this is a first impression video and I'm basically just reacting to what I see. So part 1 is basically just the introduction to the story. We find out that there's a murder in Equestria. Of course, no one who's recognizable got killed. It was actually a Pegasus named Ace Swift. It's basically like if I wrote a Star Trek murder mystery and the victim's name was Ensign Redshirt. So anyway, Ace Redshirt gets killed in the Everfree Forest. Rainbow Dash was near the scene, so she gets arrested. Apparently, the two of them were going to be competing in a race together, and Rainbow Dash is super competitive, so I guess that's the motive. And Twilight uses her magic to summon Phoenix Wright. At first, she says it was an accident, or maybe she said the spell wrong, but as it goes along, it seems a lot more like they were specifically targeting him. And I'm not sure why the secrecy is needed for that, but maybe they'll explain it later. As they're looking for evidence, we find out that Fluttershy was told not to talk to anyone. Even though if Twilight shows up with a lawyer trying to defend Rainbow Dash, you should probably tell them what happened. We also find out the crime scene is covered in burn marks from dragon fire, and there's a feather that I'm going to assume is from a griffin. And there's also some other burn thing that they can't identify, so it's safe to say that there's some kind of cover-up going on. Rainbow Dash is being framed even though she's still hiding something. She has all the psychic locks around her, which I think were introduced in the 3rd game. I also think it's weird that Twilight says Spike is the only dragon there. This video was posted about 5 months after Season 1 ended, and Season 1 established that there was at least one full-grown dragon living in the middle of the Everfree Forest. But again, I don't know, maybe that's not a factor for this particular fanfiction. Otherwise, not much else really happens in this part. The only other thing that kinda bothers me here is that Phoenix Wright spends a lot of time going, "Oh my god, I can't believe how ridiculous these talking ponies are." Which is understandable at first, and I know they're trying to be funny, but after a while, it just felt like they were padding out the video. And I started hoping you would get over it just so we can get on with the story. And that's one thing I'm worried about going forward. Part 1 is the shortest video in the series, and the pacing feels unnecessarily slow. So if it feels like it's dragging watching it for half an hour, then part of me is wondering, what's it gonna be like sitting through this for an hour, 90 minutes, 2.5 hours? I do feel like there's potential for a lot more stuff to happen later on, so I don't know if maybe the creators thought the intro was coming up a little short and they felt like they had to stretch it out a bit. Otherwise, it's an interesting idea so far, and I'm curious to see what's gonna happen next. So I'll see you all next time when I talk about part 2.